feet order. And this we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would you, gentlemen, step forward, please?
Everyone, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Always good to involve the youth in our activities. We would also ask that you please turn your phones on silent. Thank you very much. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Alderwoman Jackson, Alderwoman Cooper, Alderwoman Sutherland, Alderman Christian.
I have an addition and a deletion. I want to add closed sessions, number 10, GS 143-318-11, A6 personnel.
That would actually be number 11.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, who's next?
And I have a deletion also.
Okay.
Would be item F, budget ordinance 2019A, amend appendix A and B. Mr. Zell, delete that to further discussion.
Okay, the next person, I think, was Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you. I'd like to add a discussion of the FYE 2018 audit. I'd like an update on that.
Update. Okay, that will be, Ms. Webb, 10.
12.
That will be 12. Excuse me.
12.
That's number
It
12.
would actually be G.
G.
It would be TNG.
TNG.
I'm sorry.
Okay, TNG. Thank you, Ms. Webb. And that will be again, Alderwoman Cooper.
Budget audit for 2018, the update on that.
TNG, Mr. Christian.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to add an update by our police chief, McDuffie, on the recent shooting that happened in Holly Hills neighborhood 2 nights ago.
Update by Chief McDuffie.
Yes, sir.
That will be 10H. Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought we were supposed to get a motion as we go, but we see we're gonna get a second on these here, but as well as need an update actually from the auditors, Preston, that was supposed to audit. Well, we paid them, we renewed a contract on March 11th for $15,500 of this year for the auditors to continue to do the state audit that is a general statute by law that each municipality should always do an audit. As I stated at the last meeting, they said it was an audit been done, but with further research, there was no audit been done with our taxpayer dollars and our funds. So I would like to have the auditors to come out to let the citizens know, as well as the board know, the reason being that they have not audited the town of Spring Lake when it is general statute of law that each municipality.
So item 10I is update.
from the auditors themselves, that they can tell us the reason why, that they have not audited the town of Spring Lake in almost 2 years.
Ms. Webb, please.
I think, if I'm hearing correctly, I don't think we have to add that as an agenda item. She's just requesting that I set up that for the next meeting, is that correct?
Yes, so our, citizens can understand as well, and I know that we had stated the last time we should always have one each year and then one in May, but with further research, there's no audit been done with our taxpayer dollars from the town of Spring Lake. Thank you.
Mr. Hankins.
Mayor, I would just point out that I believe that is the same subject matter of the additional agenda item that Alderwoman Cooper asked to be at. Status of the audit work that is being done for that fiscal year.
Well, she asked for the finance director. I want the firm itself, since we, on the 11th,
Correct. Same subject matter.
Yeah,
but different
contract.
request.
Number 10, update explanation. Mr. Hankins, are you suggesting that we?
Mr. Mayor, no, I was just pointing out for the information and understanding of all board members. Same subject matter, but Ms. Sutherland does have a specific request.
Okay, so help us with that, if you will, please. Update or explanation of Alderwoman Sutherland.
oh, from the auditors themselves, to come out and update the board as well as our citizens of the reason being that they have not been able to audit the town of Spring Lake. And we're transparent, and our citizens can understand exactly the reason why for almost 2 years that we don't know what our funds are in the town of Spring Lake. Thank you.
Is someone else further?
I just want to make, a correction, I think, that the item G, the budget audit 2018 update from, Alderwoman Cooper should be F and not G, because we're, asking to delete budget ordinance 2019 A amended appendix A and B.
I will delete it, but I'll leave it and strike through, and I'll write on there that it was deleted at the meeting since the packet went out with it on it.
Okay.
So it just becomes null and void.
Okay.
We need a motion to approve or deny. Alderwoman Cooper.
Well, my question is, are we trying to do all at once, or, because, I just had a question about why are we deleting the budget ordinance for, I think that was the position that's empty?
Yeah, that's what this is.
It's also personnel, so I don't think we should be discussing that here, but we need to do that in closed session, that's why I'm asking for closed session.
Mr. Hankins.
Mr. Mayor, procedurally, you all can, if you wish, consider all of these at once. If someone sees fit to make a motion to make all these proposed changes to the agenda, and if there's a second, there can still be discussion about the individual items. And as a result of that discussion, if any one of you wishes to remove any one of the proposed agenda additions, you can offer that amendment to the motion that was made.
Alderwoman Cooper.
So I want to make a motion that we approve, all the motions with, an option to, can we say an option to revisit, the budget ordinance after the closed session?
That's certainly approved.
You heard the motion. Second. Alderman Christian.
Second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the changes in the agenda as changed. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the sign of nay. Item 6, the approval of consent items. Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 9, 2019 regular meeting and resolution 2019-15 supporting vape shop zoning ordinances.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded, we approve the consent item, minutes of the September 9th, 2019 regular meeting, and resolution 2019.15, supporting vape shop zoning ordinance. You've heard the motion, are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Item number 7, public forum. We have 3 people signed up for the public forum in this order. Henry Ponder, Tony Burgess, Rita Perry, and I remind you, I thank you for your convenience, that there is a timer on the monitor, and Ms. Wells will operate it. Please step forward in that order and give us your name and your address. Thank you.
I can't let my long speeches before got us to get the new timer there. Good evening, Alderman, Mayor Aldermen and Alderman. My name is Henry Ponder. I live at 1620 Mack Street, Spring Lake. My concerns tonight was with the August 26th meeting of the Board of Aldermen. On the agenda, they had the ordinance 2019-7, amendment to the budget ordinance, Appendix B, which dealt with the code enforcement. Excuse me. All of you know what the discussion was and the decision that was made during that concern. It was dealing with Mr. Porter, who was hired as a code enforcer. I talked to him a while back, dealing with the easement behind the house where I live in College Hills. But he'd come out and they used to clear it out every year. After I talked to him, he said they could no longer do that because they didn't have the funding to clear that easement out back there. So it got to a point that it's very overgrown back there. If I'm correct, you have a sewer system back in the area back there that normally is cleared out every year. Excuse me. He informed me, like I said, he informed me that the funding was not there. If the code of this town cannot be enforced, it is not Mr. Porter's fault. And when he did enforce the code in the residential area, people complained to board members, and that hampered his job because it didn't support what he was doing to enforce the code and question why he was doing what he did. Again, I stated before, stop interfering in the day-to-day operation of the positions of the people that you hired to do the job. Anything that you do with that position must be done in accordance with Military Act of 1994, Employment, Reemployment Rights and Limitations, subsection 4313, which was alluded to by Alderwoman Sutherland at that meeting on the 26th. After that, I did some research and went to the town website to look at the employment position and noticed that there was a posting of an executive assistant, deputy town clerk. What happened to Jamie? Was she fired? Did she quit? Why is the job title changed? It used to be to executive administrative assistant to the mayor and town manager. Should there have been a public forum to this change? Why wasn't there a public forum like the one with the code enforcement? I asked this question, and I asked several questions at the meeting that I've attended before when I spoke before the board, but I have not received any answers to any of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Mr. Burgess.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Board. My name is Tony Burgess. I own Burgess Boxing and Fitness on Main Street, 208 North Main Street. My residence is 931 Pine Oak Drive, Spring Lake. I'd like to present some belts to the mayor, to the director, Dre, and the fire marshal.
Where's the music to
Rock.
rock? You don't put it on. If I can't hear Rocky, then perhaps I can hear, my boy Rick Flair. No? Okay, well, you're 3 minutes up, sir. Okay, presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, forgive me.
Rita Perry, 1013 Karen Circle, Spring Lake, North Carolina. Good evening, town, Spring Lake Governing Board. The public information was submitted for the contract for the selling of the lumber generated for the tree removals on Bruce Street and the Marksburg property and proof of part payment. I received copies of checks totaling $35,876.39. However, in regards to the contract, it was relayed to me via email that, quote, it was done as a service and that service did not require bids or contracts, close quote. I concur, that service contracts do not require bids. However, the selling of lumber, which is a tangible asset of the town of Spring Lake, located on town property, is not a service contract. It is in fact the selling of property owned by the town, which does require contracts depicting the financial details of said transactions. As such, the response provided in that email was insufficient. This morning, I made an inquiry directly to the timber company, and miraculously, an agreement was emailed to me from the town this afternoon. This matter went from not needing a contract because it is a service now to an agreement appearing to have no settlement back to documentation. Therefore, there is no accurate account of the exact amount due to the town. All accounts receivables should be documented and detailed in accordance to any and all agreements. At the September 9th regular meeting, quote, Mayor Dahmer stated that the board members had been given an audit report at the end of the last fiscal year as required, close quote. As I did not recall the annual audit report, I researched the town website and was able to not locate the FY18 annual audit report. On September 17th, I called the LGC, the local government commission, who officially confirmed that an LGC representative, David Irwin, would be visiting the town of Spring Lake that week, as the town had not submitted the FY18 annual audit report as mandated by the general statute. The town of Spring Lake is the only Cumberland County municipality who failed to adhere to this statute. This is completely unacceptable. It is the town manager's and financial director's responsibility to ensure the town of Spring Lake is in compliance with all general statute finance requirements. More importantly, to ensure all financial records and reports are kept in an orderly and accountable manner, which they have failed to accomplish. As such, this is a formal request for an official explanation directly from S. President Douglas and Associates, LLP, the auditing firm that this board contracted to perform the annual audit, to perform the reasons why they failed to provide the audit in a timely manner. In light of the fact that the FY19 annual audit report due date is quickly approaching as well. Thank you for your time.
I may also remind you that responses will be coming from the interim town manager and others who are deemed necessary and appropriate, including the town attorney. We move to item 8, and we call Mr. Alexander Thomas. Mr. Alexander Thomas. And I think you might have some support staff there with you.
Yeah, y'all get up here.
Hello, sir.
How you doing?
All right.
Good. Doing really.
Town of Spring Lake presents this certificate of appreciation to Alexander Thomas as an expression of appreciation for continuous and outstanding service as the town of Spring Lake meter reader for a period of 12 years and 9 months. Presented this 23rd day of September 2019, and I happily present you with this certificate of appreciation, young man. We move now to item 9, public hearing, case number P-19-36, revisions and amendments to the town of Spring Lake zoning ordinance. We call, Ms. Page.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Case P-19-36 is a text amendment that was asked to be done by the town. There is no visual for this particular case. This case is an amendment in revision to the town of Spring Lake's zoning ordinance, chapter 42, amending Article 1 in general section 42B, definitions by inserting in alphabetical order the following: ancillary sale, e-cigarette, smoke shop, tobacco paraphernalia, tobacco products, and amending Article 3, permitted conditional and special uses found in the town of Spring Lake zoning ordinance section 42-66, individual uses by section, by adding section B, smoke shops and tobacco stores, subsection 1 and 2, and updating the table of contents as appropriate. The request of this was submitted by the town, and the action by the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board is as follows. In case P-1936, the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board recommends approval of the text amendment to the Spring Lake zoning ordinance, which, if approved, would establish minimum distance requirements for smoke shops and tobacco stores, as well as further define keywords related to this use. Finding it is consistent with adopting comprehensive plan designated as 2030 Growth Vision Plan, specifically including policy area 2, well-managed growth and Spring Lake area land use plan 2003. Goal of providing a variety of commercial development that is responsive to market needs and appropriately located and designated to be safe, attractive, and compatible with its surroundings. The staff further finds that approval of the amendment is reasonable and in public interest, based on the foregoing information, and this amendment will allow development of smoke shops and tobacco stores to be more harmonious with surrounding existing areas. Additionally, this amendment was prepared and submitted by the town of Spring Lake. And that is all I have on that text.
Thank you, Ms. Page. At this time, we are now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to speak for or against case P-19-36. Is there anyone present who would like to speak for or against case P-19-36? The third time. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against case P-19-36? Seeing none, is there a motion? Alderman Cooper.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Alderman Christian.
Second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Are you ready for the closing the public hearing on P 19-36, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the sign of nay. We again call Ms. Page. We're on item 10A, the same matter, so to speak.
Again, if I could just read what the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board has stated, and if the Board of Aldermen so choose to follow the same, as far as making their motion. Again, the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board did find at the August 28th, 2019 meeting that this request was consistent and it was approved by the Planning Board. It would establish minimum distance requirements for smoke shops and tobacco stores, as well as further define related to this use, finding it is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan designated as the 2030 Growth Vision Plan, specifically including Policy Area 2, Well-Managed Growth and Spring Lake Area Land Use Plan 2003. Goal of providing a variety of commercial development that is responsive to the market needs and appropriately located and designed to be safe, attractive, and comparable to its surroundings. Also, the Cumberland County Joint Planning Board staff further finds that the approval of the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest based on the foregoing information, and this amendment will allow development of smoke shops and tobacco stores to be more harmonious with surrounding existing uses. Additionally, this amendment again was prepared by the town of Spring Lake.
Are there any questions of Ms. Page? Alderwoman Sullivan.
Thank you. I'm on page 16. First paragraph, and I think you have read, stating the health and well-being, and how close that the smoke shop could be close to a school, kindergarten, or whatever.
Yes.
And it says here 1,000 feet, is that right? Well,
Mine is not page.
Section 4266, individual use.
Yes.
Okay, and it says the smoke shop and tobacco store
shall not be located within 1,000 feet of the parcel occupied by a public or private kindergarten, elementary, middle, junior high, or high school, licensed child care facility or preschool, youth centers, community centers, recreational facility, park, church, or religious institution, medical facility, or other similar uses where children regularly gather.
Okay, so if this is approved and the smoke shops are located in those areas, then what happens?
To my understanding and speaking with Ms. Hickman with the town of Spring Lake, she has stated that those she will be regulating and watching. This is for future development. Moving forward to ensure that anything new being developed within the town of Spring Lake that would meet these would not be within that 1,000-foot radius. This is for future purposes, not existing ones.
Okay, because I did read over and highlight some, so then we need to make sure that we're understanding that it's for future
Yes, ma'am,
reference.
this is for future. So if the board so chooses to adopt this amendment tonight, moving forward from tonight's adoption would then set this into play.
So, but the ones we have now can, if this is a health, situation,
Right, the ones
they
that
can stay there.
they can stay
and
there.
schools can-
However, I'm imagining, and again, this is my own thought as how normally the ordinance operates. If for any reason, anything that's there now, in addition to the new amendment, say God forbid something were to happen and it's destroyed more than 50%, based on this amendment, that would not be able to be rebuilt there. So that's how that is looking forward to the future, and if, again, anything were to take place to destroy what's existing, for example, if there's an elementary school and there's a smoke shop, say 500 feet away from it, if the board were to adopt this ordinance, this amendment change tonight to the ordinance, and say for instance that is destroyed, the owner of whomever owns that would not be able to build back there because the new adopted amended ordinance shows that you are not 1,000 feet away, however, you're 500 feet away, and you would not be meeting the current standard.
Okay, I understand that, but just to say again, so I can understand.
Yes, ma'am.
If there is a hazard, and it's a problem, and it says for help on some of these, reason for the smoke shops and the ramps and stuff like that for kindergartens as well as elementary school, or whatever.
That would be the town of Spring Lake code enforcement.
Right,
Yes.
because wouldn't that still harm our children? That's what I'm saying.
I would imagine that
Exactly.
being there in that area.
Because it's out there in the, media, and we got a whole lot of children that has been dying from it, you know, and, so I know some stores are not able to sell those now, and we don't know here in Spring Lake who's still selling those items.
Right.
And with the, elementary schools as well as the, junior high schools,
Yeah.
they can still go and purchase those or whatever, get somebody to purchase them and they wait outside. So my question is, going forward, I understand about future reference.
Right.
What about now with our children, with this?
I'm not sure how your town will regulate that. Again, that would probably be something that would be best reflected by your code enforcement.
Right, so maybe to
by
educate us so
staff.
we'll know, we're not just second
Yeah.
guessing stuff, like second guessing things and saying we might need to be educated ourselves to find out for future reference, so we can look out for our children as well here in Spring Lake.
And that would be a
Yes, ma'am.
So if we can put that request out to your code enforcement, to the town of Spring Lake's code enforcement, and perhaps ask if they would be able to educate the board as to what is in the area and where it is. However, I do know that she did give me a map, but I'm not sure as to how that would help with now. But knowing where the areas are, perhaps that could help with what you're looking at for what's existing right now.
Right. So I think we need to enforce it, but we need to go farther than what we're doing
Right.
with the existing, tobacco shops. Because if we have a situation, we can't close our eyes and not think that it's not happening in Spring Lake. And I think our children deserve to have the best ear of us looking out for them as well. And, not being able to go into the restrooms there at school because they are utilizing them. But if we put it out there and let it be known
That it not be here.
Exactly.
That it's not allowed.
and we're not enforcing
And that
that.
could be something that the town could heavily enforce moving forward.
Exactly, I think that's what we should do.
Yes.
So please put that in your minutes, and whatever we need to do to move forward on that, we need to do that as well. Thank you, Ms. Page.
You're welcome.
Any further questions of Ms. Page? Is there a motion on case P19 Alderman Christian?
Mayor, I move that we approve case P19-36.
Alderwoman Sutherland,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
moving and second that we approve case P19-36, revision and amendments to the town Spring Lake zoning ordinance. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the sign of nay. We now move to 10B, case number 19-093. Again, Ms. Page.
This case is a consideration of First Regional Commercial Leasing request for CP site plan review in Spring Lake zoning ordinance, zone CP. Total acreage of the lot is 0.85 acres, plus or minus, is located at 104 Superior Drive, submitted by First Regional Commercial Leasing Developer and George Emerald Surveyor for Spring Lake. George Emerald Surveyor in the town of Spring Lake. This is a detailed site plan of the site. This is the proposed building. The owner is requesting approval of the site plan, this is an allowed use for medical counseling. The parcel has 180 feet of street frontage along Superior Drive and 170 feet of street frontage along McKenzie Road. The development is served by Spring Lake's water and sewer system. And again, attached, this is the site plan. Aerial. That is an aerial photo of the site. The subject property is outlined in blue. And again, that's the aerial photo showing where the site is proposing to be built. And the detailed site plan shows the proposed building, the square footage of the building, and, again, this is an allowed use in the CP zoning district for the town of Spring Lake. And the applicant is requesting approval of the site for that use.
Alderman Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve case 19-093.
Mayor Pro Tem McGrath.
I'd like to second that motion.
It's been moved and second to approve case number 19-093. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the sign of nay. Thank you, Ms. Page.
Thank you, and if I may.
Yes, you may.
I would like to address the board this evening and let you all know that this will be my last Town of Spring Lake Board of Adjustment, this is not Board of Adjustment, I'm so sorry. Town of Spring Lake Board of Aldermen meeting. I will be leaving Cumberland County Planning. My last day is Friday, September 27th. I have accepted a position with the Cumberland County Clerk of Superior Courts, working as the deputy clerk, and I'm not sure as to what division I will be assigned to yet. But this will be my last Board of Aldermen meeting, and it has been a pleasure of meeting all of you. I never say never, because I never know when our paths will cross again.
Before the Alderwoman Jackson.
Object.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you.
Mr. Hankins.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I want to congratulate Ms. Page and best wishes to you in dealing with a bunch of lawyers in that new position. Good luck with that.
Thank you, and I have judges as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And may I ask you a question? I
Yes.
believe the county manager has made her decision about the planning director, but I do not know whether she's announced that.
Yes, it did come out, I believe I want to say it came out Thursday. The new planning director's name is Rawls Howard. Rawls Howard. And Rawls, R-A-W-L-S. And his first day starting with county planning will be October 14th. I do believe that is a Monday.
I had the pleasure, you all might remember, at the request of the county manager to represent the town on the assessment center, considering Mr. Howard and several other strong candidates. He is a planning director somewhere else in North Carolina, I don't remember where, but he is more very well qualified and will do well, and I'll welcome him to Cumberland County.
And that information was coming from our planning board, Town Spring Lake representative, Ms. Jamie Moore.
And I think it's only appropriate that we come down and give you a send-off and.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
I'm not coming.
You're not coming?
Well, I would come, I can't walk.
Well, I appreciate all of you. Not a problem, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So congratulate me. Thank you. I'll see you. You gave me a hug my first day and my last day.
Lisa, give me your.
Miss Page, come on.
Yes, ma'am, I'm
We're
coming
gonna
to
meet
you.
one another
I'm
halfway.
coming to you, I'm coming to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your integrity, your smile, and your professionalism.
Thank you very much.
That's why you were selected for the
I know,
position.
thank you. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks again.
Thank you, good night.
We now move to item 10C, the board to determine contractor for the 3rd Street Sidewalk Project. Mr. Perdue.
Good evening, I am Thomas Perdue. I am a professional engineer for McConnell Associates, and I have served as the project manager for this project. I gave you some backstory on the project last time I was up here on the 26th of August. I'm here to present a little bit more information for you on this project. The project was provided funding from the Fayetteville area, FAMPO, Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning and Organization, a grant of up to $181,168 or 80% of the total project construction cost, whichever is less. From January 28, 2016 to April 25, 2019, we worked on the design. We had some delays due to some decisions on how to proceed with the right-of-way being so small and fitting in the sidewalk in front of the school. But we did submit a design to NCDOT for approval on April 25th, 2019. That design was approved and construction funds were released by DOT on May 14, 2019. May 18th, we began the bidding process. We sent the design package with the drawings and the specifications in accordance with DOT requirements. Sent that out. On June 18th, we received bids from 4 contractors. The bids range from $199,711 to $348,245 for the construction project. On June 19th, McConnell Associates recommended Sandhills Contracting be awarded the project as the lowest bidder. On July 8th, the Board of Aldermen adopted the recommendation with Resolution 2019-9 to award the project to Sandhills Contracting. From then, McConnell Associates put together a concurrence award for the construction contract package and submitted to the DOT for their approval of the contractor, Sandhills Contracting. On August 1st, 2019, NCDOT denied the request for concurrence to award the construction contract package for Sandhills Contracting, stating the MC utilized to meet the DBE participation goal, DBE meaning disadvantaged business enterprise, 5% is not the DBE, the entity utilized as DBE participation goal is not met. Therefore, the DBE participation goal of 5% was not met by the Sandhills contract because the entity was not registered as a DBE at the time the bids were opened. August 7th, Sandhills Contracting was officially notified that the DBE participation goal was not met in their bid. Therefore, a good faith effort package must be submitted by Sandhills Contracting, documenting their attempts to gain participation by a registered DBE for the project. On August 8th, Sandhills Contracting submitted their good faith effort package, and that package was presented to the board on August 26, 2019. During that meeting, the board discussed the good faith effort package, and but the decision was tabled at that time. And then again, it was tabled again on the September 9, 2019. The good faith effort package was included in your package for this meeting. I trust that you've read through it, and where we sit at right now to proceed with this project is to vote if that good faith effort was met or if it was not by the contractor, at which point, if it is approved, we will proceed with utilizing the lowest bidder that has 0% DBE participation that does not meet the 5% goal. If it was rejected, the next lowest bidder can be the project can be awarded to the next lowest bidder, which is Holland's Construction. I have put together a technical memorandum dated September 16th with a table towards the end of it explaining the difference in bids from Sandhills Contracting, Duke Energy cost that was not included in Sandhills Contracting, but is part of the project. I have adjusted the bids to take out some of the sidewalk and curb and gutter that Zaxby's has put in as part of their construction, and I've included the town's responsibility, which is 20% of the construction of this project. Overall, the difference between the original bids between Holland's Construction and Sandhills Contracting is $42,673. When adjusted for the construction that Zaxby's has already completed, the difference is $39,253 for the town. The town's responsibility for this project, the difference in the bids is $7,850.60. So at this time, to proceed, a good faith effort package have to be voted on or approved or denied to continue this project.
Alderman Sutherland, then Mayor Pro Tem will get out.
Thank you. On page 37, again, I think I was a little concerned, as well as getting the information and been educated at the last meeting. Our town attorney said he would go over it and look at it to make sure, and evidently, I guess you talked to Mr. Bell, because on page 37, what it's saying here, dear Mr. Miller, right here it says, after reviewing the good faith effort package for the above reference project, the town of Spring Lake does not consider a good faith effort was performed in the meeting the DBE goal of the bid proposal. Therefore, your bid has been rejected. So that's what's in this, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Did you ever get with because it says it's been rejected, because I don't think the board members ever met to understand exactly the numbers that you're stating today, as was in the package on the 26th as well, and had a consideration of some questions, because on the 9th of July, it was originally approved, but then you brought it back because of the good faith effort. But this is what's in the package tonight, and the date on here is September the 23rd, 2019. So.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, that letter is a draft in case you voted to deny their good faith effort. That's all. That's why it's dated September 23rd. Right. That's what we will send them if you deny the good faith effort.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. I was wondering if Holland Construction would meet the DBE.
Yes, they will. Their DBE participation is 40%.
And the difference would be roughly $7,000?
$7,850 and I think 60 cents just between the two bids.
Okay. Could you repeat what DEB stands for?
Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That is minority-owned, women-owned businesses.
Okay, I just wanted to go over this. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. It does state over here what Zaxby was supposed to have put the sidewalks in.
Yes, Zaxby
Well,
has
it's
done.
on one of these papers I have it, so much gas.
Yes, Zaxby's has completed the construction of a portion of the sidewalk
Yeah,
and
it's a
curb and
portion.
gutter that was supposed to be included in the project. So we have taken that cost out of the construction of the project. So that is what, for the technical memorandum, the adjusted for Zaxby's construction column, those are the costs of the project less Zaxby's construction.
What's the number? Get out.
Sandhills Contracting, they are the lowest bidder at this time. Their construction cost would be $184,325.76 compared to Holland's construction of $223,578.76 for a difference of $39,253.
I'm still a little leery because I need some help with
These numbers, and especially since Zaxby's put that in the lowering of this, with FAMPO's 181, and I forget what the total, 181, whatever, 168, I think.
181.
That, at 80%, that's 226,000. So that, I mean, that would be exactly 226,000. This came in, The second lowest bidder came in at $223,578, so that's well within that FAMPO allowance, so.
You also have,
He did help me discuss, and we get through. That understanding, my concern is always looking out for taxpayer dollars, and even with the 39,000 and the money that Zaxby's, you took out, we wanna make sure that our numbers are correct, and we're doing our due diligence for future reference when it comes to taxpayer dollars, and not say we're gonna do something and don't do it.
And basically, right now, what we're looking at is deciding on whether you're gonna accept the good faith effort from Sandhill. And according to Mr. Perdue, they really didn't meet that DBE
Right.
standard. Or deny their good faith effort, and then select, I guess it's Holland? Holland's Construction, select them. That's all we're doing at this portion. Then, right after that, Mr. Watson put together the budget ordinance that would pay for this project. Yes,
Right here.
that's the next one.
Right.
There are no questions? Yes. If there are no other questions, is there a motion? Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny the first, I'd like to make a motion and move on to, Holland Construction and deny the Sandhill. Send that letter back to me. Thank you.
Alderman Christian. Was it you? Okay.
I wanna second that motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, to make it crystal clear, I think the proper motion, and you can do this together or separate the two, but first, instead of using the word deny, the memo says reject the Sandhills contracting bid because it does not meet that requirement. It's probably cleaner to do that, to take that action first, and then move on to the second one separately.
Mr. Pro Tem.
I'd like to clean that up. I'd like to reject the Sandhills, bid.
Alderwoman Cooper.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we reject the Sandhill bid. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the sign of nay.
Nay.
Four ayes and one nay. Okay, now, the next motion.
Well, the next motion is to choose Holland.
Yes.
Fine.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to make a motion that we, choose Holland Construction to, continue on.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
The best language is to award the bid to Holland's Construction Services. To avoid any confusion.
To award the bid to Holland Construction.
There you go.
Alderwoman Jackson.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we award the bid to Holland's Construction. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Correct.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay.
Nay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance 2019.9, Mr. Zell.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, unfortunately, Mr. Watson is not able to be here tonight, but he has put together the budget ordinance for this project, the 3rd Street project, and that is for you. He's put together the expenditure funds and the revenue funds. Are there any questions regarding this ordinance?
Mr. Hankins.
Mayor, one clarifying comment for members of the board and citizens. When a board appropriates public funds for capital purposes, construction projects, you can do that in 2 ways. You can appropriate money as part of the annual budget ordinance, or you can do it this way as proposed, both authorized by the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act. This is a project ordinance for a capital project, the sidewalk improvements. Towns often adopt project ordinances for construction projects because, for one reason, they're often, they cover more than one fiscal year. So you can easily track, or our finance officer and our accountants and our auditors can more easily track revenue in and expenditures out this way with a project ordinance. It's a sound way to do it.
Thank you. Alderwoman Cooper.
Yes, I have some questions. These numbers, don't look like they match the numbers that were stated in our packet. I don't see where they match what we, voted for.
Since not knowing what numbers Mr. Butch worked with, I'm assuming that he went with Holland's bid because he felt like the board would reject the good faith effort. But I don't know how he came up with the numbers. I can't speak to that.
I don't see where we can vote on this if the numbers are not in line with what we.
But as you see, as Mr. Perdue spoke, the 223,578.76 is the revised numbers for Holland because of the Zaxby sidewalk. And you notice that down in the section 2. And so he's working with the exact numbers and all.
That's why I didn't vote, because I was confused and I'm not understanding. That's why I was asking, did y'all go over it so we can get to this point? And that's why I voted against it. Until we can come up with the
Well, I
numbers.
would vote against it. I would just
Well, I
table
do
it.
want it to go, table it.
Yeah.
And that's what I had stated the last time, until we get these figures, everything is correct, because if not, we're gonna be bringing it back and it's not matching up with the numbers, with the wording, and I understand the first bid was.
Because 80% of 223,578 is the 178. The other numbers are, professional services, engineering, and that's the cost to McConnell. The contingency is just something that Mr. Watson felt like every project needs some kind of a little contingency, and it's based on, I think it's the 10% of it. And so those are where those numbers came from.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, that is exactly the answer. If you look, and bear in mind, section 1 is the revenue in to this project. So look at section 2, the authorized expenditures if the board adopts this project ordinance. And as Mr. Zell said, if you look back at page 40, the chart that shows the Holland's construction amount, in that column it says adjusted for Zaxby's construction. In other words, the owners of the Zaxby's property, the new restaurant, paid for the cost of the sidewalk that abuts their property as required. And now what you all are doing is appropriating the money for the rest of the project.
Right.
So if you take that 223.5 number that is in that Zaxby's construction column, across the line where it says Holland's Construction, that number appears in section 2 on the capital outlay roadway and pavement line is exactly that number, $223,578.76. And the only other two items there are directly related but different. Probably not paid to the Holland's Construction Company professional services, which is the engineering cost for our consultants. And you always want a contingency because stuff happens in a construction project. I think that's
Okay, well,
that's
what is
the
the
answer.
difference in the contingency? Just let me say this, and then maybe, but you're earning your money. But when we get documentation, when it comes to funds, and I always say taxpayer dollars, but when it comes to funds and understanding exactly what we approve instead of making a motion. For me, I will speak, but we work together as a board for the taxpayer dollars. I like to understand and not second guess that maybe this is the reason why, and we always have contingencies. I understand that, but it's better, because later on I'm gonna mention it and I'm gonna speak about it, how we have documentation that left us with no questions asked about one of these presentations in this, agenda. So, I know we say that maybe we can table it, so we can come back, because it does say here the 39,253, the difference on this first page, but the numbers are different when it comes to the, what we approved earlier. And if we can get clear documentation, even though he got up and gave a presentation, then we could probably understand it better, because it's easy when you spend, we're talking about big dollars here. We want the project on 3rd Street to go forward, but we want it, the right lingo in front of the board, so we'll understand it and not be confused. Maybe some understand, maybe some don't, but numbers, they don't lie if you look at them and you take one page to the other. When I see that, and I see on page 40, but the numbers are not matching where it's supposed to, and our finance director is not here, we can't speak for him, and we don't want to think what he could have been thinking without having a bottom line number for this contract.
Well, as far as this ordinance goes, the top numbers are the revenues.
Right, I do believe that what's
And the expenditures are on the second line. And the expenditures are clear as far as the 23,578.76. Okay, that's the adjusted amount from the contract, taking out Zaxby's card. Well, then, the professional services, these are what probably has already been paid to McConnell over the last 3 years, and the part that they did the design of this project. And then, of course, the contingency, it just is an arbitrary number that you just put in. Up on the top numbers is then the revenue part of it. And based on 80% of 223,576 is 178,863.01. And then Mr. Watson took the town's portion to cover the 31.8 and the 4 are basically our 20% of the project. He took out the 44 and the 36 numbers. That's the town's portion of this whole project. And so that's how those numbers came about.
Okay, Mr. Christian.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we table the budget ordinance 219.9. You heard the motion, are you ready for the question? All in favor of tabling the budget ordinance, sign aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign nay. See about table. 10E, Chief Williams.
Mayor, board, how are y'all? Earlier you see that the Boy Scouts are here. I wanted them back here tonight because in March, if you remember, you guys let me put in for a firefighter grant, safer grant, to be able to get 6 firefighters added to our squad, and they would pay. But the Boy Scouts here, come on up, guys, ladies and girls. They came and they stood out there at Walmart and raised our money, which I thought was just amazing to me. And so I wanted to let them know that because of their great help, we was actually awarded that grant. So I just want to say thank you again for everything you guys did. I know the board appreciates it and the whole town does, so I appreciate it. Deep in my heart, I appreciate what y'all did. Give you a hand. I don't want to keep y'all up
too late tonight, so if y'all need to go, I completely understand. It is a school night. I come before you today to see if we can get approval to go forward with this grant. You guys do have a award letter that we received, and the breakdown on page 3 of how it will be paid out for the 6 firefighters. Page 2 shows you, page 4 shows you the cost of each firefighter would cost us would be $50,483. That is with benefits and a salary that we started with. And the first year, which will start if we get approval to do this, will start after we hire them. We have 8 weeks to hire them to really get them going, because on our budget line, we did a little quicker to try to get them in. So if we get them in here, then a year from now, we would only pay $75,000 for those six firefighters. That would usually cost us $302,000. The federal will be $227,000. The following year, which will be year 2, for the same 6 firefighters, we only have to pay $75,000 again, as the federals pay $227,000 again. Third year goes up a little bit, be $196,000 we have to pay, and they only pay $106,000. For their total of, for us hiring these firefighters that will man Station 2 that we're working on now, that hope to get built within the next 10 months, we'll have a savings of $560,000. That's over $500,000 savings for us as a town. So I am coming for you today to see if we can move forward with this grant.
Any comments? Alderman Jackson and Alderman Christian.
I was gonna make a motion. I was gonna make a motion that we approve and accept the grant for the firefighters.
Oh, okay, you made the motion. Hold on, sir. 1 second. It has been moved and seconded that we accept the grant. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
And unreadiness? Alderwoman Sutton.
Okay, just like to make a comment. Chief Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
this documentation that you have presented is very well, it's clear, specifies everything you've done from the date. The documentation for the employees that you want to hire has been broke down in detail. Went through the explanation of approval on page 46 as well. And since you're standing there, can you give us the amount of that grant?
The total grant
Yes.
that they will be paying us is $560,000, $361,000.
That is job well done.
I can't take the credit for that.
But, well, your team, a job
It-
well
it-
done. I
it's-
remember when you
it's a
first
team.
presented it, and as I stated, there's no question to be asked in your documentation that you have presented to the board with all these pages. Your pages are a little different, but you have broke down the salaries, everything they're gonna need to do. And plus, you did your due diligence, you did your work to go out and get the grant for the great town of Spring Lake, and you work together as a team for our safety and the first responders. And I can certainly say, as a citizen, I appreciate the job that you've done and this information that you presented to the board.
Thank you, ma'am. I do have a great team. I mean, that's one thing we have down there. Richardson spent a lot of time and effort in that thing, and he really takes most of the credit.
Well, he
But
did.
as a team, we work together.
Well, he did a great job.
He does. He's a great employee.
Thank you.
Alderman Christian.
Thank you, Mayor. Richardson, Mr. Richardson, thank you for your hard work. And Chief, thank you, team.
this is a step closer to the second fire station I've been wanting for a couple of years now.
Me too.
Public safety is very important to me. And now, once we get the fire station built, and Chief McDuffie, we can work on a new police department for you in a separate building. So, thank you all for your hard work. This is really great news for the town of Spring Lake.
Thank you.
Those in favor of accepting the SAFER grant, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 10G, Budget Audit 2018 update.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, it was just brought to our attention, that we had not completed and submitted our, fiscal year ending 2017-2018 budget audit. And, so we really haven't started, from what I understand, we haven't started the budget for, the prior year. And I just, I'm concerned because we weren't told this hadn't been done. And, when I look back, the budget, because I remember at the last meeting, we talked about that, because we were talking about a forensic audit, but instead we chose to look at this year's audit. And that's when we found out that we hadn't completed this one. And, so I'm just, concerned why we were not made aware that this had not been completed and where we stand with that. And I know Mr. Watson's not here, but if you could just give us a little bit of information on that, Mr. Zell, because I understand he has spoken to you about it.
Yeah, he sent out a memo this weekend, I think everybody got the memo, that because of the hurricane last year, that it was behind, I can't imagine that it hasn't been submitted in some fashion to the local government commission. Ms. Perry mentioned earlier that, local government commission, employee was gonna be here. He was here this week, but he didn't say anything about our audit not being here. He was talking about something else. There is, it's called OPEB, Other Post-Employment Benefits, that goes to an actuary, because of retired employees that get benefits, whether it's medical or dental or vision or whatever. But those are costs that are ongoing to the town, that the town is responsible for, and so those have to be recorded in there. But it's at an actuary, they're doing it, and that's totally out of the control of the town, on their timing. Now, he did state in here, that he was told by the auditor that it would be 30 to 45 days. And so that's all we can go on right now.
So many municipalities had, struggles from the storm, and I've been in contact with some of them, and their information has been submitted. So I'm just, I want to know again, and I know you can't answer that, but I just really need that on the record of why we were never told our audit had not been submitted. Because when I look back, I saw that the audit was presented in January one year, and it was presented in March. But we're in September, almost October, and we have not received our audit, and we paid for this.
I understand. Again, I'm just working with Mr. Watson on this, but I think one of the board members has requested to actually hear from the auditor. And so tomorrow, if Mr. Watson is here, we'll work on getting that set up, to get something specifically from the auditor on why it's taken so long. But normally, you're right. Normally, it's submitted to the LGC by December 1st. They go through their process. Of course, there's 540 some municipalities. They go through their examination of the audit, and then make whatever comments, if there are any comments that they would make, and then send it back to the auditor, and then they come and present at a convenient time for the board, which is January or March or whenever it's convenient for you to hear it. but that is the normal procedure.
And I did request in an email that the auditors update us on what exactly is going on as well, so, yeah, I'd like to have that information. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, I can add a little bit. Mr. Watson is ill today, but I spoke with him on the phone today on my way down here to ask about this. Ms. Perry is absolutely right. You all are. We do need to make sure that our auditors complete this work as soon as they reasonably can. There were some extenuating circumstances that did apply to the town of Spring Lake more than to most. The severe damage that you all know was done, the flooding that resulted from Hurricane Florence. Here's the timing. You all know that the fiscal year that we are talking about ended on June 30, 2018. Ordinarily, that audit would have been completed long before now, and the audit report presented to the board and discussed with the board. That's good practice. Except Hurricane Florence came along in September 2018, and Mr. Watson points out in this memo that in addition to his significant duties as the finance director, he is also the town's risk manager. That means he is responsible for dealing with the town's insurance carriers, and was for all of those claims, the property damage, the flood insurance coverage, etc., and all the workers' comp claims that always result from a calamity like that. And it was not only the finance director, but other members of the town staff were, if not overwhelmed, and then probably close to it with everything that happened. Plus all of the meetings with FEMA, securing as much funding as they could through the FEMA public assistance and other programs, including discussions still about potential other federal money to make improvements to mitigate further damage. So one result of that was, Mr. Watson says, that in the midst of trying to deal with all of that, he did have some difficulty assembling the last pieces of information that he needed to submit to the auditors. Normally, these intensive meetings with the auditors, looking back to the end of the last fiscal year, happen in about August, September, and then the auditors take all that information and then they complete their work. The problem Mr. Watson had was that he and the staff were involved in all of those recovery and financial discussions after the hurricane. He had difficulty submitting to them what Mr. Zell just mentioned, OPEB or other post-employment benefit information. That's accrued liabilities that the town has, or unfunded liabilities for health insurance and some other things, retirement system liability, and et cetera, that the auditors have to calculate and then include in their audit report. The actuary who needs to, a firm that needs to complete their work on that piece of it, hasn't done that yet. They need to send that information to the town's auditing firm. So, long story short, it was just a set of extenuating circumstances, and I can tell you from experience that the local government commission staff will allow some latitude and accept some delay in completing audit reports when there is a good reason for them to do it. And I suspect that is what is going on here. Let me say again, we all do need to work to make sure the audit for that fiscal year is completed as soon as it can be, and then that the work is continued and then completed for the fiscal year that just ended in June of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. No disrespect, no point intended directly at you. I can understand you doing your job to get it out there, but this is totally unacceptable. And for the local government commission, Spring Lake was not the only municipality underwater. Everybody else's audit was completed and done. I'm pretty sure during that time that everybody had a lot of work to do. So we're gonna have to stop making excuses when it comes to taxpayer dollars and the reason why the work is not done. When we have individuals that are department heads making $60, $70, $80,000, you got other people that are here to do the job, and if they don't do the job, how can the board get the correct information to make sound decisions for the citizens? So I can understand what Mr. Butch wrote to the board in the letter that he gave you, but if this was never brought up about trying to do a forensic audit, then we would have never known, because nobody is being forthcoming to the board to give us correct information. We've never, since I served on this board, been in a situation like this, besides the other auditing firm when the state came down over $500,000 of taxpayer dollars not being used like it should have been used. They actually did not report everything. So with them, it was in the newspaper. Now, again, I can understand and I can respect what Mr. Butch put on that paper as of the 23rd or the 22nd, but if nobody had ever said anything about an audit, and then it was stated that we had already had an audit, and I don't recall us having an audit, so our citizens did research as well as the board members to find out and keep asking Ms. Webb, and Ms. Webb 2 weeks ago let us know in Southern there's no audit been completed. So what I'm saying is, I can understand what you said there for Mr. Butch, the employees or whoever, but this is just no excuse, because we cannot continue going on not doing the day-to-day job in a professional manner when we're hired to do a job with the professionalism of accounting, running the town, of whatever job we're supposed to do. And we can't keep on making excuses when we're already a year behind. We're 8 months into 2019 behind. But on March the 11th, 2019, we approved a contract for $15,500 to give to that auditors. So if they're not doing their job, then they need to give us our money back. Somebody not making them do our job, then they need to give the taxpayer money back, and we need to get another auditing firm. Thank you.
Alderman Christian and Mr. Temple Gap.
I echo Mr. Sutherland's concerns. I'd like to know, and this goes down to a breakdown in communications between the board members. We just don't communicate with each other. Who on the board knew this before this subject came up? Who in the chain of command knew this before we found out? And how do we balance a budget without an audit? How do you balance a budget without an audit? You don't know where your money is. And our budget this past year was very contentious, and it seemed to be rushed at the last minute. And I don't understand, if we didn't have an audit for the year before, how we were able to balance a budget without knowing where all the money is. Those are questions I'd like to ask. I'd like answered. Thank you, Mayor.
I know you've been working on trying to get this second fire department in conjunction with all this real estate dealings that we've been having going on, working with Tony. But I don't feel that we're getting ready to step off the end of the world. Things happen, we'll fix it.
Alderman Jackson.
I think that we also need to wait till, the finance director comes in so he can be able to explain some of the questions, some of the very good questions that was asked, to give him, that's his position, so he should have a right to defend himself. So I think we should be able to take time to listen, because he's the one that did it, so he's the one that really needs, and can explain it to us for us to know why things wasn't done at that time.
Any other questions or comments about 10G? 10H, Chief McDuffie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Assuming, Alderman Christian wants an update, or requesting an update on an incident that occurred this weekend. There's some information that was sent out, to the board. I think everybody's aware of a shots fired, incident over in Holly Hills this weekend. I'm not gonna go into any more details. It is still an active investigation. As for an update, as I stated in the memo that I sent to Rhonda to send out to the boards for request of Mr. Zell, we are actively investigating the case. There were investigators out in that area yesterday talking with the homeowners. Of course, in a lot of cases, we don't always get the cooperation that certainly would help us to get to the bottom of incidents like that occur. However, I will state that we do feel like this was a isolated incident. We have not had any shots fired called in that area. I don't know about that particular home. But long story short, we are doing all we can to get to the bottom of it, as we do with all investigations. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I'll disclose what I can because it is an active investigation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I was out today, Chief, it's very disturbing whenever you have shot fired. I've told from several different residents of the sound, if it was an automatic weapon, and we have people there that's concerned about their safety because, as we know, we've always said, it's the bullets has no eyes on them. What goes up must come down. What goes through a wall will go through a wall and somebody else. So it is an active investigation, but I think that community need to be made assured that there's police presence in the area. That's what I was asked to relay to you, that there be police presence in the area, because we have people that's pretty afraid, which I would be as well. And I think to ensure the safety, since it recently just happened, that police presence would be great in that area. Thank you.
And I agree, and that was one of the first things we did. Speaking with Lieutenant Spelman, when I was briefed on it, we have beefed up our presence in that area. Hopefully, the citizens did notice that, and we are continuing that.
Alderman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. My concern, I had a couple of people speak to me and said that when they dialed 911, they got Fort Bragg, and they felt like the response time was really delayed. Is there any kind of education you could give the citizens about why they get routed, if they're supposed to get routed to Fort Bragg? Is there anything we can share with the citizens about how 911 calls are routed or something? Because one of the ladies said she panicked when it said Fort Bragg.
Well, and this has come up. It is an ongoing problem. I mean, it's not an issue that we can address. However, the advice that we get to citizens, typically what happens, if citizens dial from a landline, then the call is going to go directly to County 911, because that's who we contract through. What happens when you dial from a cell phone, it's going to hit off, it'll hit off these towers, and it'll route them to Fort Bragg. So the advice that and I know a lot of citizens don't use landlines, the advice that I will pass on, if you have a landline, dial from a landline and not a cell phone. That's what's causing the problem.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I just want to thank the police department for what they're doing, and I appreciate you guys beefing up patrols. That was one of the big things I got asked. I got a lot of calls and texts that morning, and I saw the incident after it happened. It was, I could see it from my backyard, the house, and the confusion that was going on. So, public safety, like I said, has always been a big concern for me. It addresses our quality of life. We have to feel safe in the streets. And I encourage people to call 911. And if you can't call 911, call me, and I will do it for you. And I'm sure all my fellow board members, you can call them, and they will do it for you. But I appreciate your hard work, Chief, and the response you guys gave. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem.
Chief, can you tell us basically what was just shooting in the air? No shots fired at anyone. Tell us what happened.
All right, it is an active, it's an open investigation, and I don't want to say too much. I mean, I sent the information out, excuse me, to everyone. I'd be more than happy, I'm more than willing, if anyone still has questions, information I can release, stop by my office, call me. But again, I tried, or we tried, to keep, the board informed of the events that are happening, in the community. However, sometimes, again, with active investigations, I'm reluctant to put some information out. I would prefer that if you have, detailed questions that I can release, please just stop by, and I'll be more than willing to talk. I just don't think it's appropriate to do it here in an open forum.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And let me just say this, and reinsurance, to the citizens, of this community, everything that's been stated tonight, certainly, I agree. The safety and security of this community is always our first priority. And the men and women of the department, the guys work hard, and I'm proud to put our criminals, our crime stats up against, some of the surroundings. Nothing's perfect, we're gonna have crime, but certainly be assured that when the crime happens here in Spring Lake, we're gonna do our best to make sure we get to the bottom and bring those that are responsible, hold them accountable for it.
Thank you. Mr. Hank.
Mr. Mayor, not about this matter, but anticipating that you all may be about to recess into a closed session, I meant to, before you all left the audit discussion, respond to the other question that Ms. Perry asked in her comments, and it was about, if I may, it was about a contract matter. I believe that some of the concern that the board has about financial management and audit matters is about procurement and contract procedures, and to make sure that we consistently follow the requirements of state law and your board adopted policies, and that's my concern too. Ms. Perry asked about a particular contract matter. Let me tell the board what I know about that one. This is a timber cutting matter, and more particularly it's about cutting the timber on townhomes property called the Muttsburg and Mendoza Park tracts. Here's what I know. There is a written contract. There was a public records request for that contract. Staff had some difficulty locating it, but we now have a copy. The law is clear. General Statute 168-16 flatly says that every contract that the town is a party to must be in writing. In the law, a private party can have all kinds of contracts that are just oral based on a handshake. Those are contracts. But this statute says, with respect to towns, contracts in every one of them must be in writing. So we do have a written contract for this timber cutting. And I absolutely do agree that the town needs to have a regular procedure in place to make sure that we look out for the town's rights under every contract and the revenues that are supposed to be received. Ms. Perry asked a good question about the procurement process, namely whether this contract was subject to the bidding provisions of the state statutes. What she said was that this is not a service contract. I believe she said that this is a goods and services contract for sale of town goods and services, and so the formal bidding process should be used. I respectfully disagree with that legal opinion. I asked that same question when the previous town manager approached me about this potential timber sale on those two tracts. And I asked one of the young associates in our law firm to do some research and figure out the proper process for award of a timber cutting contract. And he found an old memorandum by David Lawrence, who's now a retired faculty member from the School of Government. I happened to be with David this past weekend on a baseball trip with some folks, and actually talked to him about this. His opinion was, and still is, that a timber cutting contract where the town does receive revenue for the timber that is severed could be viewed as sale of town goods, but more properly, his opinion and mine is that that is more a service by the contractor, so that it is not subject to those formal bidding statutes. And in this case, the formal bidding statutes were not used. They could have been, but I think pretty clearly that's not required. We don't have an appellate case that says one way or the other, but I agree with that opinion that was given. So that's what I know about the matter.
All right. It appears that we have concluded all of our added amendments to the agenda. Is there a motion for Alderman?
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant ES 143-318.11A6 personnel.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6 personnel. Heard the motion, you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay.
I make a motion that we come back out of closed session.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
Second.
Moving second that we return or come out of closed session. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Okay, the next motion, Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we, approve budget ordinance 2019A, amend appendix A and B. Oh, no, we need to add it back on.
Right,
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we, add, budget ordinance 2019A, amend appendix A and B, back to the agenda.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and second that we add the budget ordinance 2019 on a amended appendix. You've heard the motion, are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, sign of nay. Okay, so the budget ordinance is back on the agenda. As item F, right, Ms. Webb?
Yes, sir. That's where I put it.
All right. Okay. That would be Mr. Zale.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. 2 weeks ago at the last meeting, you were concerned about some of the overwork that was caused by also giving our current town clerk, the interim manager, plus the HR, that she might have a little bit too much on her plate. And so you were looking for a progression plan for someone to come in and help take some of that load off. And as you're aware, currently, we have a contractor in the office that has been, and I don't know how long she's actually been in the office, but I know she's working from home for a long time, since last November. And I don't know when Jan left.
She left in the middle of September.
Okay.
I mean, August, I'm sorry.
And somebody, I think, asked that question. I think Mr. Ponder asked that. She took another job.
She sure did.
Not a whole lot we can do about it.
Right.
But in the process of trying to come up with a progression plan for the town clerk, because she's not going to be here forever, and you did not have in place an individual that could step in, because to be a town clerk, you have to be a certified clerk, and it takes a while. It takes, well, the class runs from February to October, and there's 4 classes, and each one is a 5-day class. So, you know, it's a 20-day process from February through October of next year. And there is another class, I think in November, that's just like a basics thing that'll prepare for the time for next year. But basically what I was trying to do was to get somebody in that position. And so what we did was we looked at the current job title for where Ms. Smith was, and we didn't feel like that met what we were looking for. Plus, it did not have the deputy clerk aspect to it. And so we wanted to maybe bolster it so that we might attract a better candidate. And so that's why we put executive assistant / deputy clerk, because we're looking for an individual that wants to learn, wants to be able to do that position, and can do that position. There's a lot of people that might want it, but do not have that ability. So that's why we did that. But to meet the standards of the town, we have to, because we're changing the title, we have to get that approved. And then we also have to approve the grade. We changed the grade from 53 to 55. So there's 2 things that have to be done. We have to approve the title, the new title, and then we have to approve the grade change. And I think you could do that in one motion. You could do that in one motion.
My concern with everything was the job was already posted. So how did you post a job and you haven't had the approval to do it? That's what was my concern.
Well, because the board had advised or had asked for that, we felt like that's the way that they were leaning. Sorry, that was my fault. I jumped the gun on that. But I felt like that since the board was in favor of that, because the applications aren't gonna come in, I mean, they have started coming in, but we weren't gonna do any interviews until after this was all approved. There would be no interviews until that.
That was my
Okay.
concern, my confusion.
Well, and I was just trying, and I will say this, there's the individual, our contract individual, who is very, very good. I've watched her in the 2 weeks that I've been here, deal with the employees, deal with citizens on the phone, in person. The way she deals with the paperwork, she helps Ms. Webb in the billing, setting up bills and stuff. I mean, she's learning all the processes. She's also got another job offer over in Fort Bragg. And so there's the possibility that she may be gone. And then we would really be hurt because there would be nobody in that position. So that's one of the reasons why I moved it ahead. And I apologize to the board for that, but you know, sometimes you have to try to be
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara and Alderman Sutton. Excuse me, sir.
No. Go ahead, Cliff. Go ahead.
He did.
I just wanna make sure I did what I supposed to, not you. I just wanna make sure that was on and I'm doing it right.
I think right now you may be a bit out of order because I'm watching the board.
No, I don't know what you're alluding to, but I just wanna make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
Thank you.
I go back a few years, and I can remember when Chris Ray was here. I believe he actually brought Ms. Smith in to pretty much be like his secretary or something like that. And we didn't have anybody in that position. What I really feel that we really need right now is a school-trained HR person. And that would relieve a lot of stress and take the pressure off the clerk so she could probably go and do her job. But we're gonna have to do something sooner or later, and HR needs to be here. I know Mr. Christian's been harping about it for quite a long time, and I've been listening to him, kind of sitting in the background. But after some things that I see happening around here, I think we really need to put our vision in that direction. Thank you.
And let me say this, I also heard that 2 weeks ago about an HR director. First of all, in this year's budget, the HR position was not budgeted. There is no monies in the budget for an HR director. Apparently, Mr. Gerald was interested in an engineer, and had, I guess, was setting up interviews for potential engineers. There is an engineer budgeted this year. My suggestion, and I think I sent this memo out to the board, was that when the new manager comes, hopefully sometime in January, then if that engineering position is still something that they think is necessary rather than contracting it out, then you would have only 6 months to pay on that salary, and then you could hire an HR director with the balance of that salary for from January through the end of June. But then that, ongoing, you would have to budget for the HR director. But right now, there is no money for an HR director. And so my thoughts were that a new manager would probably prefer to hire his own people.
You put it out there.
Well, we're not paying this, Mrs. Smith, we're not paying Mrs. Smith's salary at this time.
No, so.
So, that, should be building up.
I don't know what her salary is, I have no idea.
It was 30 something. I would have to look that up.
Okay.
And the executive assistant, I'm sorry, I'm out of order, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I was thinking that
I don't wanna put out.
if we,
I'll tell you later, because that's why I said you think you might be a little bit some stuff. But, you ready for me? Okay. I didn't know if he was gonna continue to talk. But, okay, so we're gonna be on the same, so we can go forward. With the position, I did read what you were saying about the engineer as well. With the HR, Ms. Webb is doing the HR as well as the clerk. So this is gonna leave this deputy clerk some of Ms. Webb, because when Cora was here, that's what Ms. Rhonda used to be, is our deputy clerk. And then she got the training to become the clerk for the town. So that's how we got to where we are at this particular town with Ms. Webb. So it makes sense to get somebody in this position to go ahead and get them trained. Now, a lot of businesses, or towns, and especially some as small as this, they're contracting the HR out as well. I don't know if we've taken consideration to look into that. And then they do the background checks and stuff like that. And then the deputy clerk, the other stuff in here, as well as the clerk, will do some of the HR, but doing the background checks and everything else. So we might need to take a look, and not because I said it, it's because it's the right thing to do, is to look at other options as well, since we're talking about HR. With the position that's already, that you stated that you didn't know what the position was, what happened with that position, that the individual, I don't know what the position was. This is what I'm accustomed to, that's why I said thank you for bringing it to the board. Whenever we create a position, it's always brought to the board for the board to approve. So the position we have on hand now was never brought to the board and never approved. That's why you didn't know what it was that you stated. So I do feel that we need to go forward getting somebody trained, because to my understanding, I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're getting close on, because it takes a while to get the clerk trained.
Yeah.
And then look at probably contracting as well, our HR out as well, but still have some in-house. I mean, we can look at it to see that some municipalities contract it out. See what it entails. I mean, if somebody wants to do the work. I mean, that's just my thought process, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Jackson.
Question, Ms. Giselle, with the executive assistant / deputy town clerk, is there more money than what, Ms. Smith was being paid?
It's another step higher.
So it's more money? So where are we getting that extra money from?
Well, again, it will be from the balance of her salary that's not being used.
I'm saying, if you're gonna put somebody in her position, so she's taking this, and just for clarity, because I'm not understanding, the administrative assistant job is different from the executive assistant / deputy town clerk. So from here, it says it goes to grade 55, from a 53 to a 55. So that would tell me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that means there's more money that we're gonna pay that position. So if her position is already, so we're gonna pay the executive assistant, deputy town clerk, what the administrative assistant was making plus extra. So my question is, where is the extra coming from?
Okay. Ms. Smith left, I think you said in the middle of August. Okay. We're probably not gonna hire anybody until the middle of October, so that would be 2 months of Ms. Smith's salary that will carry us on through June 30th.
Okay, so it's gonna go up, but not that much up,
No.
because it can't go up no more than the 2 months that we.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna be that much more than what she was already making. So between October and June 30, it wouldn't go over, and then you'll budget for that on.
Now, will we have that figure, the number, the exact dollar figure before this is approved? Or should, I mean,
What you're approving there is just the salary range.
Okay, so we're not exactly approving the salary?
No.
So we will have to come back and approve the salary? We don't have to, okay. So when you say salary range, what numbers are we working with?
The, salary range for the administrative assistant starts at $30,096, and it goes to $45,144. The, executive assistant / deputy town clerk starts at $33,171, and it goes to $49,771. So the beginning salaries for those two jobs are $3,000 difference.
So we'll know we'll have enough in between that because of the 2 months that she was out.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, I just looked at the PD go through the process for 2 weeks, 2 meetings. And, I don't think we're setting a good example to, just come out of nowhere, one, and put something out, in other words, hiring a position. It's not at budget time. And, it just doesn't seem right. I can understand you saying you're trying to get them to school and stuff like that. But, unless, the town clerk is getting ready to retire or something like that, I don't see where we should be, jumping ahead of regular practice protocol. And, we try and make this happen. I still feel strongly that what we do need is an HR person. And I feel that we can find a fund for just like you said, it probably take 2 months to get one. But that's basically how I feel.
Alderman Sullivan and then Alderman Cooper.
I'm not trying to be funny, but Mr. Mayor, I lost my train of thought. I was trying to find my pen so I can write it down. I might not be as quick as you as well, because that's why I said, am I doing it right? Because the same thing happened a while ago when I rung in, he started talking, so that's why hold on, I'm not ready to debate with you. I'm not gonna debate. No, you haven't, because he just told you to stop. I'm talking about this last time, sir. I'm not gonna debate with you. But I'm not gonna debate with you. I'm just got a question in it.
All right then.
Sir, you don't bully nobody but who you bully. Whoever you bully and control, and females, that's who you bully. But you don't bully me, and we're trying to work here together to get something done. So please stop yelling at me and stop being a bully of females.
Can you just?
Okay. Well, I'm trying to, but he keeps yelling at me.
Can you just calm down, both of you?
Yeah, because you're controlling, and that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to make sure I'm in order.
Can both of you just calm down?
Yes, sir.
You're on YouTube.
Yeah, but they need to see.
Public view, no, they
Yes,
don't
sir.
need to see.
Well, they need to see what they're working with if they're gonna be electing a new board, because we need a board that's gonna work together,
This
sir.
is not election time, this is not the
Well,
time
okay.
to, campaign.
It's not, and I asked you to say something a few minutes ago and you didn't. So what I'm trying to say is, Ms. Lizelle, I'd like to make a motion, because we just talked about the PD, it's not right for the PD. We got to stop, we gotta do what's right for every department and not exclude or say this department is better or whatever. We're trying to run a town to do what we're supposed to do to get the town to continue to run. As I stated for the HR, if we can look into, Ms. Well, contracting it out or whatever we need to do, keep in-house, I think that would be feasible. But you're gonna be leaving. I may not be on this board, but I still live here in this town, and I will be here for a while, along with probably some people that never will live here. So, I think we need to take in consideration, not because I say, but the right thing to do is to get somebody in this position. And when you look at these here, where it says the grade 55, that does not mean we're gonna start the individual off at 49, because that's how we got in the situation that we was in prior, because we was hiring people that was not qualified for the positions, as well as starting them off at a high salary, and then you had to go back and give that scope to get people where they needed to be, and then some individuals that's already been here felt it wasn't right because somebody just getting hired would come in making more money because of somebody knowing somebody and they get paid this kind of money. So this is just a scale than what they can make up to that amount, but we're not gonna start them off with that. That's right. So, you know, that's what we need to take into consideration, because if what we've done to that scale to get people at the salary range that they should be at, will be defeating the purpose if we continue to start off individuals making higher amounts than what it should be when they first come in.
Can I?
Alderman Cooper,
Awesome.
and then you.
I was just gonna say that, we have to take into consideration that, Rhonda has served the town for several years and, is near, the place where she can retire. And the worst thing we could do is not have the foresight to have someone in place when she's ready to take her leave. So I strongly support this position, and we have the monies there, whereas we do not have monies budgeted for HR.
Alderman Jackson.
Okay, listening to my co-partners here, they're saying, one, to contract out some of the HR. And then, on the other hand, they're saying too as well that she's getting a retirement. She's holding two positions. So if you're seeing that this is gonna be a problem, then why not eliminate holding two positions and get an individual person for that position, instead of getting a deputy clerk, town clerk, that's gonna help her do two positions. If she's getting ready to retire, then that means that new person that comes in is gonna have to be able to do two positions, what she's doing. And that doesn't seem feasible to me for us to put money out for a deputy clerk, then put money out to contract and HR, because if the problem is HR, then why don't we address the problem and not go around the problem until what's going on? I'm totally confused, because at the end of the day, if the reason why we're even talking about assisting her is because she can't handle the workload, then we need to find out what part of the workload that she has that she can't handle, and then put somebody in that position. If that's why we're talking about all of this anyway, because if eventually down the line we're going to have to put an HR person there anyway, then why are we waiting and not going ahead to do it now? Because if you got to find money for the HR director, you're going to have to find money to contract the person out who does it, and then how long are they going to do it? And how much is it going to cost the town for them to do it? So you're going to have to find money for that anyway. So why not just eliminate the B, C, D and go straight to the A and just fix the problem? I'm just confused. I'm just don't understand that.
Alderman Cooper, and Alderman Sutton.
But I never suggested, contracting HR. I believe that was, Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
No.
That was Ms.
No.
Okay,
I never said
No.
What?
Let me explain what I'm saying.
No, okay,
Don't mention
let
that.
me finish, could you please ask them to stop talking while I'm getting it?
Yes.
Can I be, because see, this is, I'm not gonna be bully as a female trying to get this work
Okay,
done.
so-
Ms. O'Gara.
I never suggested, contracting out HR. I've always strongly suggested the deputy clerk, administrative assistant. If we need an HR, we can put that in the budget later. But right now, I've not suggested that there is a problem with her performance in the work. And I've never suggested that we need to change her, what she's doing. I said that we need to have someone in place and look to the future so that we have someone in place, well-trained, to step into those shoes should she retire, and she is close to that. If I'm not mistaken, Marty, you are eligible to retire in about, 8 months? If you chose to. So if we don't have the foresight to put somebody in place now, then we're just gonna be in a whole lot of, we're gonna have a lot of problems. So right now, the focus should be on getting somebody in that place. And again, I've never complained about her not doing her job.
And let me just add, you could not be in more capable hands.
Amen.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
Thank you again. I'm trying to stay on line and track, but, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve, budget 2019-8, amending, appendix A and appendix B.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I think, I'm not ready to do that.
Well, we have to get the second.
Okay, wait, somebody else get the second, okay.
Alderman, excuse me.
Second that motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Christian. It's been moved and seconded. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? Unreadiness.
Yes.
Alderwoman Jackson.
Yes. I heard what, Ms. Cooper said, and I heard what everybody else said. Rhonda is doing a wonderful job. That was never questioned. But the idea of relieving her workload was questioned. So that's what we're all talking about, is relieving her workload, not the fact that she can't do it. It's the fact that, it was brought up because we're talking about another position. So I need for everybody to make sure they understand that if her workload was not an issue, then we wouldn't have never brought up the deputy town clerk position for her, because that's what it was. I understand that she is getting ready to retire, maybe not, in 8 months. Is that right?
I would be eligible in 8 months.
Are you planning on retiring in 8 months?
I would really like to.
So then, instead of looking for a deputy town clerk, then why are we not looking for a clerk?
If I can clarify something that I think I heard.
Okay, good, because I'm confused, I'm sorry.
Ms.
I'm confused.
Are you thinking that we're gonna have the position that they're now and this other position? Were you thinking that there's gonna be an additional position?
Yes.
No, there's not.
Okay.
We're changing the name of the existing position.
So the position that we have right now would just add on the deputy clerk.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we're changing the name from administrative assistant to executive assistant / deputy.
Thank you. It's good to have clarity. And it's good to be able to discuss, to have clarity.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that.
It's been moved and seconded. Budget ordinance 20.8 to amend appendix A and B. Are you ready? Those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. So ordered.
All the ayes got it.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Alderwoman Jackson.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Alderman Christian.
Second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. Those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, sign of nay. Ayes have it again.